Hey, what's going on, guys? Today we have Justin and Brian on today from Miami, Florida. Brian is a realtor and Justin is a mortgage broker, and together they formed a powerhouse duo team helping the local community.
And so we're going to focus on a few different things, but some of the knowledge they dropped was, what is the most common skill that veterans actually have that transfer over to business? And then what are the key factors to qualify for the best mortgage possible?
What's going on, guys? This is Dan Wynn.
And Mike Glaspie.
And welcome to the Military Cashflow. Hey, today we got some great guests. We got Brian and Justin on. They're down from Miami. Nice Miami, Florida, nice and sunny. I guess a little bit of overcast right now. But would you guys mind introducing yourself, letting us know a little bit about you, what you do, and obviously, kind of your background? Start with Brian.
Okay. My name is Brian C. Smith. I'm a realtor in Miami, Florida. I served in the Navy for 5 years. Came from a little bit of a military family. And when I say that, my dad was out of the service long before I was born. But my dad's a 58 West Point grad who served 8 years in the Army. My brother is a 1986 Air Force Academy grad who served for, I think, roughly 32, 33 years in the Air Force. His last assignment, he was a wing commander in San Antonio. And so he had the pleasure of leading about 3,000 airmen in a wing with C-5s. And I spent 5 years as a surface warfare officer, attended college on an ROTC scholarship. And then after I got out of the military, I spent about 10 years helping companies figure out how to hire military veterans. I've placed roughly 1,000 military veterans into careers as they left the service. So I'm really well acquainted, I think uniquely equipped to understand both what it's like to be in the military, to transition to the military, to try to find a job, and now to figure out how to get financing and find a house. And I'm a pretty numbers-oriented guy. I've got an electrical engineering degree. I did go through Navy Nuclear Power School, and I have an MBA. So, with some realtors, you're going to get a person coming right out of high school who's going to work really hard, and they're going to do their best to help you. With me, you're going to get something a little bit different.
Got the life experiences to bring to the table, right?
Absolutely.
Yes.
All right. Justin?
Hey guys, I'm Justin Bush, and first I really want to thank all you, our servicemen and women, for all you do. Not to mention also our local heroes, right? There's a lot of people that are service oriented day in and day out. They've been boots on the ground types of people, whether they're in the hospitals, through everything that we've all had to go through the last several months. So hats off to all of you. We take a very, very supportive approach when it comes to that. We're giving discounts on free appraisals, discounts on the way we approach our loans in general, from a mortgage lending standpoint. But I'm Justin Bush. I'm the market leader. I cover really what is Central Florida through South Florida, though we are a 50-state mortgage lender. We're GSE direct lender. That means that we really package our loans. We sell directly to Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, GMA. And ultimately, I am from Kentucky originally. I was born and raised in Lexington. But I've been in South Florida now for about 16 years, almost pushing 17 at this point. But I am tasked with the day-to-day of ultimately making sure that we're not only helping, the general public consumer make sure that we get the best rates, best service, best experience from a lending standpoint. We only do residential mortgage lending. We don't do home loan. We don't do car loans. We do not do SBA loans. Our primary and only focus is residential lending. So 1 to 4 units for the purpose of either primary residence, second home, or an investment property. And we really, really take an aggressive approach to how we support our veterans. From our VA lending standpoint, we are quite aggressive. We really don't have a single bit of overlay outside of maybe the credit box, which has kind of changed for everybody across the board over the last several months, where we were always kind of could go all the way down to 550 in many cases. We're pretty much going to be closer to 580 right now on exception, but all day at 580 at 620 credit score. So there's a ton of opportunity that I don't believe that our servicemen and women really truly understand when it comes to the benefits that you have as a veteran, whether it be from a credit box capability standpoint. So we can cover all that stuff, and let's just hash it all out, guys. I really appreciate you having me.
Excellent. Yeah, we're going to definitely dive into that. Definitely dive into that. Go ahead, Mike. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, you're good. Hey, Justin, what do you like better, Kentucky or Miami?
Ooh, well, I've been here for 16 years. I tell you what, Kentucky is one of the most beautiful places on the planet. I mean, you guys are in the South, and but listen, man, we might smell like a wet dog about half the year down here in Miami because the humidity and everybody's always sweating. But man, I tell you what, man, you can't beat our winters down here. So man, I'm gonna flat out just say Miami. It is what it is. Hey, listen, Kentucky Wildcats die though. You know what I mean? It is what it is.
Good save. So you guys covered a lot of stuff, and for all the military veterans out there in the military cash flow audience, we did have a credit repair specialist on the episode prior to them guys that talked about the importance of this. But I mean, if they're lending at 580, right, but 620 is that sweet spot. That again, it goes back to the importance of credit, not just beyond financial needs, but to save a lot of money on these mortgages. So that's great stuff. Brian, I wanted to kind of come back to you. When you said you served your time in the military, you were a surface warfare officer, you did all that submarine nuclear warfare. What was the transition mindset point for you to decide, okay, I've done my time here, I'm ready to try something else, helping veterans get into these corporate positions?
I'd like to be able to say that from the time I was 3 years old, I always wanted to serve in the military and have a 20-year career or a 30-year career or something like that. That wasn't me. That was my brother. My brother, from the time he was a little kid, pointed an airplane in the sky and said, I want to be a pilot. Yeah. And, even today, he's a pilot, still flying post his Air Force career. For me, I knew that I wanted to go to a certain school. I knew that I couldn't throw a football. I knew that there were certain parameters in front of me, and my parents said, we wish you the best, and we think you're going to learn the most in life if you go to a college and you figure out how to pay for it. So, I had a strict focus to try to figure out how am I going to get school paid for. And so the military for me was the best option. And, it's not that I'm not patriotic, or it's not that, I didn't learn a heck of a lot from serving, but I'd be lying if I say it was a dream of mine to serve in the military. Okay. So, I went at it with the approach, I'm going to go in the Navy, and I was a surface warfare officer.
Whoa.
I went from the attitude, I'm going to go in, I'm going to give this my best. I'm going to see how I like it. I deployed twice, and I learned a ton. And, at the time, I thought the guys that I was serving with in the war rooms on the two ships that I was with were the biggest jerks I'd ever met in my life. And then when I got out of the military and I look back on it, I go, those were the greatest guys and gals I've had in my life. Yeah, so, it's really interesting. You tell God you got a plan, and you know what God does. He just kind of reminds you, you don't always know what's going on. So I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, definitely. I love that story. I mean, you said you didn't intentionally, that wasn't your sweet spot, but you still made it work, and you still ended up helping your career, basically. So
for sure. Yeah, I mean, that's what propelled me forward for 10 years. Yeah. Helping companies hire military vets. And I had a degree in electrical engineering in college. I didn't have a super high GPA in college. And I went at it from the standpoint, I'm going to get the most difficult degree I can, so it really challenges me. And it did, and I struggled. I really struggled in college, but I made it through. I graduated, you know, it's kind of like to tell you, if you go to med school and you graduate, what do they call you? They call you a doctor. You know,
Yep.
it's the same thing in the military. You know, if you go to school on an ROTC scholarship, you graduate, you know, now you're called an officer. It's the same type. It's the same type of gig. So, you know, that. So I try to keep it humble because I got a lot of reasons to be humble.
Yep. And you know, what's funny is it's just like you mentioned, there's not really many people that join the military because of that lifelong passion. A lot of times many service members join because they want stability, because they want to get college paid for, because they want the benefits, because they want to travel. Not too many people nowadays, especially in this generation, have that sense of service. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that, but that's more common than not. So Justin, you didn't mention, what did you do before mortgage industry? So, you know, what did you do? You came from Kentucky Wildcats, and then all
Yes,
of a sudden you said, I'm going to Miami and I'm doing mortgages.
So I, you know, listen, I was quite fortunate. I actually got to grow up in the same town. I grew up a mile away from the campus itself at the University of Kentucky in Lexington. And then, you know, which really was on like a quarter mile from the football stadium. You know, so when it came to school, it was a really easy decision for me. Actually, at one point I thought maybe I'm going to end up in Indiana doing something, but it just didn't make sense. I just didn't know how like I could bleed so blue and not just stay at home. So by the time I had finished college, with my finance and economics degree, I was a double major in that regard. I was ready to go. Kentucky's a landlocked state. For me, I had really, I wasn't one of those people that's fortunate enough. I grew up very, you know, middle class, or if not lower mid. And so for me, I was just quite fortunate to have my education, and the opportunity presented itself for me to land in Miami. Actually, I started out in Broward County, which was like West Broward, out towards the Everglades, which is in Weston. In my first leg down here, there's a town called Davie, Florida. And I don't know if you ever heard of Davie, Florida, but Davie, Florida, literally, they have horses in the streets. People ride their horses down the street. They have a rodeo in Davie. And so what was really funny, I'm like, by God, I just left Kentucky. And so I find myself, you know, in the streets, you know, with the horses and all this stuff. So I quickly made my way towards the beach. I was like, I didn't move down here not to be by the beach. So I got to the beach and worked my way down here. But I literally started in this business right out of college, about 9 months. And I have always maintained some sort of presence in the mortgage industry, but for 7 years, I owned a title company and a real estate company. At one point, my real estate company had 300 real estate agents. And then really, I missed being in the mortgage business. So I went to Wells Fargo. I was at Wells Fargo for 3 years. I was at Citibank for a year. Then I kind of did more of a mom and pop shop, brokerage, correspondent lender for 3.5 years. And then when the opportunity presented itself to become part of Cardinal, once I really dove into what the opportunity presented itself as someone who could be a business and have the autonomy that I want as an entrepreneur, as well as actually have the support of a company that feels like just as big as a bank, but without having that rigid approach, because they have to follow so much more compliance from that standpoint. You know, the banks do, because they do so many different types of product sets where we only do lending. So our focus really, because it is that, has really set us off into a completely different trajectory. Our focus from a lending standpoint across the board is, let's just do what we do best. Let's just stick to, you know, helping the average consumer. And that average consumer can have not great credit, right? I think you were just talking about the those credit repair guys you guys have been working with and things like that. By all means, please introduce me, because you cannot imagine the number of borrowers I come across, not only on a weekly basis, but sometimes it feels like daily, and they're just this far away. They're not that far. And also too, and I want to say to everyone out there, you know, sitting back and not doing something about your future is only going to guarantee you one thing: you're going to get stuck. You're going to be stuck exactly where you are today. But if you really just dive in, I know sometimes we wish we'd handled things differently, maybe when we were younger and our credit came around, or maybe you've gone through something very traumatic. that's caused, some really downturn in your credit for a number of reasons. It could be divorces, it could be illnesses, lots of different things. You could have lost someone. You could be the wife of a veteran who's lost their spouse or husband for that matter. And that's something that's like, we're here to help 1,000 different directions. I personally really just take my position from not only as a lender but as a person. Like, I just want to help consult. At the end of the day, my consultative approach is really ultimately what I believe really truly separates me from everyone else. If I said that I didn't work 3 out of 4 Fridays till 10 p.m., I'd be lying, because I do. For me, it's whatever time I can get in that time to really be able to work with people, because a lot of people, whether they work at the hospital, they're on the night shift, or they can only get with me certain times. I'll make myself available anytime. It could be Saturday morning, 7 a.m., so I think that we have so much opportunity just as humans to really provide for people, especially for those that are less fortunate or less educated. Let me give you the comfort. Let you give you the comfort. You guys are providing something that no one else is doing. For you guys to bring me on this call and be able to give an opportunity to tell people that there's more opportunity out there than they really may know, for me, it's huge. And the fact that you guys put something like this together, phenomenal. And literally hats off to you guys, because if everyone took the approach that you guys are taking to everything that you're doing, the world would certainly be a better place. And I think that we're all kind of learning a lot, and we're all communicating a little bit differently after this COVID-19 pandemic. I think that people are a little more patient and communicating a little better in a lot of ways, not always, but hopefully more. But I'm seeing a lot of people in a positive light, considering that everyone was kind of put in an equal playing field for the first time that we've ever experienced in our lives. But either way, to answer your question is that this is what I've always done. This is really what I've always done. Outside of bartending in college and selling phones for Verizon in college, that really was those were my other jobs. This is really what I've always done, and I just love it. I've really just dove into it, and for me, I love giving someone the opportunity to own a home or use their position to better themselves, whether it be because they have equity in their property. Maybe they can start creating some passive income by buying investment properties, which is really a huge opportunity, I think, for the veteran themselves, because you can cash out as a veteran at a higher level than any other borrower on the planet. So you're going to get a lot more flexibility when it comes to lending guidelines as a veteran. And also, too, we qualify you at a much, much, much higher debt to income ratio as a veteran.
Yep.
So we'll go up. I mean, I've seen them go to 75 DTIs. FHA maxes out at 56.5.
Oh, you said 75% DTI?
75%. I've approved 75% DTI.
Now, for our listeners out there listening, what does that mean? What is the debt?
So debt to income ratio, for example, if your income was, let's just keep this a simple math standpoint. If your income is $2,000 a month, okay, and all of your housing expenses plus your credit card and your car payment were $1,000 a month, your debt to income ratio in this particular scenario would be $1,000. The only thing that we pull in from a debt to income ratio standpoint when we're calculating that figure is anything that's going to appear on your credit report, plus child support or alimony, okay? And if you owe the IRS on a monthly basis. So that's really what drives the debt portion. So we do this on a monthly basis. What are all my debts accumulated? If they accumulate to $1,000 and you make $2,000 a month, your debt to income ratio would be 50%. Okay. So FHA says we'll go to 56.5, 57 debt to income ratio. VA, I've approved actually beyond 75 in certain instances. So it's much, much higher. The conventional conforming loans are typically going to be maxed out at 49%. Depending on your credit score, they're going to quickly drop to 45 just through Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac's automated systems right now. They're a little tighter. And then if you start getting into what is considered like a jumbo loan space, so anything outside of whatever the conforming loan limit is in your area, most of the United States is 510,400 being the conforming loan limit. You will see anything outside of that space, in many instances, immediately drop to 43 or 38 or 35%, especially right now. As everyone knows, we really went through a substantial market crash in March through the COVID-19 situation, and in doing so, that really caused a lot of liquidity issues within the mortgage-backed security market. So what happened is that everything in the private or portfolio lending spaces, where you see kind of non-QM loans. Non-QM loans are things like bank statement loans, debt service loans, meaning the property is really qualified based on its income compared to the expenses associated with the property, or foreign national loans. That stuff all almost kind of blew up overnight. Literally in 2 days, all these things dropped off the planet faster than we watched subprime go away in 2008. Nothing has ever happened as fast as this occurred. So you'll see that the credit boxes have really kind of gotten much tighter kind of across the board, but we're also seeing them come back little by little. But the one thing that really hasn't seen much change has been the VA loan. One of the biggest changes that occurred for the VA loan was in January of 2019.
Yes.
No
Where
loan cap.
now exactly. So now you'll see that, we at Cardinal Financial will go to $2 million on a VA loan at 90% LTV. We will go to $1 million on 100% LTV. So I think probably your next question is going to be, well, what's LTV? So that's our loan to value.
We're talking about there.
That's our loan to value. So we'll use a very simple approach to that same thing. So if you have a $750,000 loan and a $1 million purchase price, or appraised value if it was refinanced, then we would have what is a 75% loan to value, or LTV. Well, there is no other loan program on the planet except for which is designed for the veteran, that allows you to flat out do a 100% loan for 100%, meaning you're only out of pocket the cost to close, whatever your closing costs are.
And
if you got a good realtor, that realtor is going to negotiate some of them seller paid.
That's right. That's right. That's exactly right.
Because I mean, let's be honest. I mean, $1 million, $2 million in Miami. What did that get you? Like a cabin or something? Like a little one bed, one bath?
And listen, cabins get blown over down here.
Yeah.
No, man, you get a lot for $1 million down here right now.
Your average price on Miami Beach, $1 million. The trick is you come right over from the beach to an area like Edgewater, and as far as I see it, you got better views, and you might spend half that. So, it's just making sure you understand the real estate.
That's super important because go ahead, Dan. What you got?
No, go ahead, because I got another follow-up question. Go ahead.
Okay, yeah. So I mean, all this knowledge is being dropped about. Some of this stuff is beautiful, right? And understanding your debt to income ratio and really what that means and what you qualify for. That's all on the lending side. Credit, credibility, ability to borrow, and all that good stuff. But just like Brian said, hey, what is it that you really want? Because what if there's another location literally a couple miles away, better views, better, whatever, better amenities, and you can get it for half the price, right? And that's why it's so important to have these two counterparts as part of your real estate team. And that's why these guys are crushing it out there in Miami.
And that's a perfect segue into what my question was, because Justin's talking about the lending, Brian's talking about the knowledge of the actual location and how you can get the best bang for your buck, right? So we talk a lot about teams, we talk a lot about partnerships and how you can go much further with a team than you could by yourself. That's how me and Mike linked up. That's why we created this platform, right? So how did you guys meet to become the best real estate team in Miami?
Yeah, Brian, you want to take that one?
Right, Brian.
Brian's like, I got it.
Okay.
I got this.
So, my daughter is 7 years old now. Okay. And I tell you what, I do a lot of work to try to market. I mean, I thought I was a professional marketer. I market as hard as I can. And at the end of the day, I meet great people because of my daughter. People gravitate to this young lady.
She's a better marketer. Let's be honest. She's the best marketing tool you've got.
So my daughter and I were hitting some golf balls on the driving range. Okay. And, Justin's on the driving range hitting golf balls, and I'm really, really, hard on mortgage people. I'm a bear. I actually,
yeah, you're in the business for a while.
Between getting out of the military and then helping about 1,000 veterans get jobs, I worked for accredited home lenders. I was in a management trainee program they had, and I underwrote about 1,000 loans when I worked there, and then I was a wholesale AE. So I was the person walking into a loan officer shop, looking at the income equity credit, figuring out what the rate would be and when we could have docs ready. So I would basically do a field underwrite, tell them, hey, this is what it's going to look like, and then we'd go from there. But until I met Justin, I had not met a single mortgage person in Miami that could give me straight answers, and it really drove me nuts. And I was on the driving range with my daughter, and he came over and was super friendly and started talking to my daughter, and I came over and started talking to him, and I said, "What do you do?" And he said, he told me he does mortgages. I said, "Okay, I'm a realtor."
Yeah. So Brian comes over. He's like, "Hey man," he's like, "You should probably take your keys and put them in your left pocket because this is not working out for you, dude." He's that thing is not flying straight enough. I think we got to shift something around here.
So
yeah, go ahead. No, keep going, Brian. Go ahead.
Yeah. So I mean, I asked him a couple questions, and I was pretty shocked because most people, when you ask them any sort of questions about guidelines, they just kind of tap dance and say, "Send me the loan file," and they don't know their guidelines. And Justin knew his guidelines. I mean, it was amazing. I was like, okay. Like
I'm honestly a nerd. I'm a mortgage nerd. Honest. And the thing is, nothing drives me. And I'm only a mortgage nerd because I know where to find the answer. I don't always know the answer. I'm like, let me double check, because the guidelines, I mean, listen, there's a billion guidelines. Let's be honest. I mean, from product to product, type to type, credit score, and the reality is that we're always being driven by whatever you're only as good as the information you give the system or anything else for that matter, right? And I would say the same about Brian. I have introduced Brian to realtors who want to work with the person who really knows this market, because in specifically where we are here in Edgewater, Miami, there's a huge opportunity. We have a substantial number of condos where there are lots of second home investment opportunities, as well as primary resident opportunities where they fall into the conforming loan limits. Miami is not a place where you have to have $1 million. You have to buy $1 million property to buy a 2-bedroom condo. It's just not the way it is. Brian could shed some more light on it, but I would say that quite different right in this Edgewater area, right in this little block. I believe that, and Brian, I'll let you talk the real estate numbers, but there is a huge opportunity to be able to, one, invest here, especially as our condo market's a little soft right now, as well as it's not as expensive as many people think, and everything is fairly new.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because a lot of people call Miami, Little Havana or Little Cuba, but I think 5 years from now we're all going to call it Little New York.
Oh wow!
People up in New York City. I mean, you talk to other people and you say, "Hey, what do you think of a 2-bedroom condo for $500,000 to $800,000 that has panoramic bay and ocean views?" And people coming from other areas, Orlando or Jacksonville or Texas, they just kind of bat their eyes and go, I can buy like a 5,000 square foot home with like 2 acres and horses in the back and stuff like that. They don't get too excited. You talk to somebody from New York and they see the view and they're buying a plane ticket the next day. So if we got any way to reach out to vets that are up in New York City that are going through this COVID thing and scratching their head and saying, "Why am I living in New York City?" Miami, baby.
Well, and let's also talk about a couple of things that even prior to the COVID-19 in those really areas that are fairly, you know, compact, people on top of each other. I mean, New York really got hit the hardest for obvious reasons, right? The number of people per area is substantially different than even a city as big as Miami is. Miami is quite spread out, and it is not nearly as populated as New York by any stretch of the imagination. Even when you get down into areas like Brickell, or you're here in Edgewater, where we have more condo than we have single-family residences, we don't have state income tax in Florida, so it's extremely expensive to be a New Yorker. Let's just say that. And there are other states, obviously California being one of those. I'd be lying if I said I could name off all off the top of my head, but New York being probably one of the most expensive. People have been looking to move to South Florida for a long time.
Florida is one of the top recommended spots for a lot of the, you can call them financial gurus, if you will, but a lot of the successful business owners recommend those no to low state tax states, right? Florida, Texas, South Carolina, yeah, you name it. I mean, that's a very common spot. There's two things I wanted to touch on that you guys, before we get too far on, that I want to kind of go back on. Justin, you alluded to the point where, you know, people, basically everybody gets education, right? I don't care if you're a realtor, you're a broker. I don't care if you're an Army officer. A lot of people are told what to know. They're given that book status. It's only those people who do a little bit more, right? Who read a little bit more on the side, who study more, that really get deemed to be those subject matter experts. Those are the people that you want to seek after when you're looking for investment properties, when you're looking for, hey, how do I work around these mortgages? When I'm looking at, hey, what area do I need to live in to really get what I want? That's why these two guys right here are doing everything that they're doing now, is because they do a little more. They do more, right? They don't just let the guidelines guide them. And then for all those people that are ready to go to Edgewater and buy a condo, I might be contacting y'all for an investment property. Guys, that's something else, is lifestyle investing, right? Who cares if you live in North Carolina? Who cares if you live in Kentucky, right? But maybe you want a vacation rental where now when you travel down to Miami, it's a tax write-off because you're visiting your property, right? So in a situation like this, guys, if you guys are interested in Miami for any of those reasons, hit these guys up. But I got to ask you one question, Brian. I wanted to ask this a while back. You've helped thousands of veterans transition into businesses. In your experience, have you seen one commonality that has made veterans successful in their business ventures?
So I'm going to cheat. I'm going to say four things. Okay. And I'm going to call it energy, character, and the three things: energy, character, and the capacity to learn. Okay. When I would help companies hire military vets, we would help the companies understand that they're making a mistake when all they look at is experience, because experience is just one recipe. And you know, at the end of the day, nobody went in the military with experience, you know, shooting a tank. You know, nobody went into the military with experience flying a plane or driving a submarine. Nobody had experience when they went in the military leading 1,000 people. Okay. But we all figured it out. We all came together. We all bonded. We all succeeded. So, you know, the trick is look at the energy, the character of that person, and the capacity to learn, and the experience isn't so important.
I love that. Excellent. I love that.
Well said.
Yeah.
I had a question for Justin. Kind of, you mentioned in the very beginning, you talked about a lot of advantages that veterans don't know about those loan products that you offer. And with you knowing the guidelines as much as you do, what are some of the common things that you mainly see from veterans that they just don't know that could definitely help them out?
So I think one of the biggest ones was a transaction that I kind of went through recently, where I had an individual who was leaving Colorado. He'd actually was already on, I think I did his third VA loan. So you don't only get one VA loan, you can continue to get more VA loans. You can't have more than one active VA loan, meaning presently only like a loan, one mortgage. You only have one at a time. But this was the first time, and I'll be honest, that I had been in an experience where he had to take one loan, one VA loan, and move it off so that I could do his current loan. And I'm thinking to myself, man, I know our government. There's no way we're moving that fast to get this thing, to make this easy. And I was absolutely dumbfounded. The VA has stepped up so much over the last few years, especially when it comes to the lending side of things, to where they released the certificate of eligibility or reestablished eligibility, releasing one loan so that we could do our loan in a matter of 2 days from the time in which the loan was paid off. I was absolutely ecstatic. I thought no way in heck this was going to happen that fast. So one of the things a lot of people don't know is you can have more than one. One of the other things we already covered, which is you get a heck of a lot more loan than most people can, assuming that you could qualify, even if that debt to income ratio is a little outside of what's the average, credit box or consumer box. Also, too, you can buy a multi-unit property, meaning multi-unit be up to 4 units. Okay, so we can't really go 5+. That really turns into commercial at that point. But you can do a 1 to 4 unit. If you happen to have ever shown on your tax return in the last 2 years that you received any sort of rental income on any other property, you can actually use the income from the property on a 1 to 4 unit, as long as you occupy one of those units within 60 days of your purchase. You can use the income from the other 3 units to qualify you for the loan. Now, it's typically used to offset the debt of the loan itself. So we can't really call it income. So if it's above and beyond what the expenses of the property are, which is rare anyway, very rarely would you see going into a new property where you would, a forward unit where you would see a cap rate of 20%, right? So let's just say that it's more than sufficient in offsetting the expenses related to the property itself, especially if they're already with a lease, and things of that nature. And because you can do such a large loan amount right now, there's a huge opportunity for veterans to buy these types of properties, live in them, basically rent free or debt free in that property. Huge opportunity. And so if I was to recommend someone who really, you have a reasonable income, or your credit's okay, whatever it is, buy a small property now, do it with a conventional loan, set yourself up to buy another property in 1 year. Once you have those tax returns filed for this property showing that income on that property, we'll immediately let you use that income on the purchase for the VA loan on that 4 unit property or 2 unit or 3 unit, to offset, using the income from the other units to offset your overall expenses associated with the property. So just showing that you have rental income on your tax return is enough to get you there. So come up with a plan like anything else. And I know that, our military guys, like you guys are, you guys are really good at execution. If you set your mind to something, it gets done. Take that approach to your financial freedom in the same aspect. Really, this is a huge opportunity. One of the other things that people don't know is that you can get a 90% cash out on your property as a veteran. You can't get 90% LTV on any other loan as a consumer in the United States. You can get 90% as a VA, as a veteran.
Do you have to use your VA certificate of eligibility for that? Does that?
Yes. It would be a VA loan. So you don't have to have a VA loan now.
Correct. Yeah.
But you can either refinance your current VA,
right,
or you can take a new VA loan and get 90% cash out. So now imagine you have a property you've owned it for 10 years. You have $200,000 worth of equity in it. You want to utilize that equity to make some additional investments. Maybe you want to start a new business. Maybe you want to buy some property with Brian. Maybe you want to, buy a cabin in the Carolinas. Whatever it is, you have that opportunity And because you're a vet, you are given more opportunity and more leverage than any other consumer in the United States. So that is one of the biggest things that people really don't truly understand that they have the capability of doing.
And I'm going to add something to that. You know, if you think about businesses and how they grow and how they accumulate their valuation, you know, what private equity does is basically levers up, you know, goes and leverages that same type of model to get that company big and getting the cash flows pumping through. So, you know, what Justin's saying is absolutely true. It's the same tool that businesses use. You just have to be very, very, very careful, because with leverage, you know, more risk comes along. So you've got more responsibility. You know, now you've gone from shooting a BB gun to shooting a machine gun. So, you know, you can cause a lot more damage. You can get yourself in a lot more trouble, but you can also do a lot more with it if you know what you're doing. So,
yeah,
you know, so make sure you understand leverage really well. And that's why, you know, when we're showing, you know, houses on Fisher Island or South Beach, and these places are going for, or even North Beach, there was recently a sale for $30 million. The vast majority of people buying those properties, they're hedge fund managers. There's a reason for that, you know, so keep that in mind.
Yeah, that's a key word. I think, Justin, you said it, and Brian pretty much said the same thing, making sure you have that game plan right to utilize these loan products the best way possible, the most advantageous to you, right? So don't go in and over leverage yourself on a single family home that you intend to live in, thinking you're going to turn into an investment property and it doesn't cash flow right, or your return on investment, your ROI is not right. So you have to actually do that due diligence and make sure that, hey, this is going to cash flow when you leave, or, you know, come up with your game plan, your strategy prior to buying the house. So don't think just because, hey, you got, you know, 100%, you got no loan cap, let me go buy a $2 million property and, you know, and I'm going to be good. I'm going to be well off, because, you know, you got to think through those stuff. You got to strategize. Let's do this smart. And we teach that in our courses. And then we talk a lot about that on the podcast and the YouTube channel as well. So definitely, those are great points. You know, you can use a VA loan more than once. You can, there's no loan cap. There is, what are a few of the other things? You can use up to a 4-unit property. You know, those are 3 common things that I see as well that veterans typically don't know about. So good stuff.
And one of the things I think that we really do want to cover right now, I ran a report for the entire state of Florida 2 days ago, which basically was, I wanted to know how many people there were vets that had interest rates above 4.25. And the loan was originated since 2017,
Probably
January. Okay. A lot. That same loan right now is closer to 3%, if not under 3. So take that into consideration for those of you that recently purchased your property. You know, you may only be in it 2.5 years. If it's a $400,000 property or $400,000 loan you have right now, you're going to save over $200, if not $300, depending on where your rate is today, just by doing a VA IRRL. Okay. So the VA interest rate reduction refinance loan. So IRRRL, VA IRRL. Literally no income, no credit. We don't care. Literally, we're just going to give you a new loan. It's
so
like this.
What advantage does that give a service member?
Well, so imagine if you're that service member who maybe missed a couple car payments, something happened, went through something. We don't even care what your credit box looks like. We don't care about your credit. As long as your mortgage has been paid on time, or you haven't had more than one late in the last 12 months on your mortgage, we'll just give you a lower rate and lower payment. Give you a brand new loan.
I'm an advocate for that VIRL. So I actually personally used it not too long ago, and one of my partners did as well. The beautiful thing about it was, I think we've got it reduced by maybe 3/4 of a point. Wasn't crazy, but I'm saving now a little over $150 a month on the mortgage. But since it's a brand new loan, just like a regular loan origination, that next payment I didn't have to pay it, right? You have that 130-day delay and then you make your next payment. So I essentially got 1 month free income at a reduced mortgage of $150 on a triplex, right? So it's super beneficial. I'm a huge advocate for it. Again, make sure you have a plan for it and make sure that you understand that it is a brand new loan, right? So your term starts over. But nonetheless, I mean, if it makes sense, it definitely makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, especially for those people that have only been in their loan for a year or 2 years.
Exactly.
Like the recast doesn't actually have any impact because you're going to recover so much more quicker than for someone who's been in the loan maybe for 10 years. I wouldn't probably honestly recommend someone who is 10 or 15 years into their VA loan of doing a VA IRRRL or any other refinance for that matter, unless they're looking to looking to find some sort of liquidation effect. I mean, they want to get cash out of that property. And the reason is because I don't know if anyone's paid much attention to what an amortization schedule looks like, but an amortization schedule, it really is leveraged to us as lenders. Let's be honest, right? You're paying all the interest up front, and you're going to get all the principal paid on the back. So you start paying if your payment's $100, you start out paying $99 to interest and $1 to principal. It's not exactly that aggressive, but it ain't that far off. It might as well be. I mean, it feels like that, right? So, the deeper you get into your loan, the refinances don't really make much sense anymore, unless there is a business purpose approach. Right. I don't care if maybe you want to invest in another property, maybe you want to renovate your property, maybe you want to, kick your daughter out of the house and get her married. I don't know what it is, but there may be a lot of reasons why you'd want to take cash out of the property. That's not going to be done through a VA IRRRL though. That would just be a regular VA refi or a refinance in general. But outside that, there's a huge opportunity for so many. So I did the search. I didn't give you the number. There were 12,000 loans in a 3-county area with those parameters, meaning 4.25 and higher, that were originated in the last 3 years. I was dumbfounded. I was like, I can't believe the VA loans were that expensive back then. 17, 18. Right now, because I think that you're going to get the same loan on an IRRRL right now, closer to 2.875 on a 30-year. That's crazy.
That's great. And
today though. Listen, this might not air for a couple months. So
right.
But call me anyway. Let's take a look.
It's so funny to me because, and I wasn't investing during this period, but I mean, many of my mentors, they're talking about loans rates that were 8%. And they were like happy. They were like, "Oh, it's 8." And nowadays, when somebody gets told it's 4.5, they're like, "Oh, that's high." I'm like, all right, guys, let's calm it down. Let's count our blessings.
Oh my gosh, it is the craziest thing right now. But people are they're like rate crazy. They're like, oh my God, I'm like, what rate can I get? I'm like, let's talk about your payment. Can you afford your payment? Let's see whether or not you can afford this. Right. Like, what's your goal? Your goal should not be a rate. Your goal should be something else. Don't get me wrong. Thank goodness for great rates right now, but there ain't no way it's going to hold on. Let's just call it, it's a zero profit business from an investment standpoint when it comes to the liquidity market, which drives mortgage interest rates. Right now, our government is dumping money into the mortgage-backed securities so that we can have low rates to keep our economy moving after what has become a global pandemic. Okay, that's really what's gone on. So take advantage now, because it ain't going to be here in 6 months. And if it continues to be here regardless, we're going to see a lot of things that are going to occur. I think we're going to see a lot of tax changes occur over the next several years. Inflation could definitely be something we're going to have to keep an eye on. Take advantage now. We don't know where we're going to be in 6 months or 6 years for that matter when it comes to how our monthly expenses feel, right? They have those things to really, really feel. So the rates right now are definitely in a point where they're lower now. I really didn't even think that I would have said this 2 weeks ago. How could they keep going lower? And they're lower now today than they were 2 weeks ago. And today is June 20th that we're producing this. It's crazy to me that this continues to be an opportunity for people to save money. Take advantage now. Like if you're waiting on them to keep going lower, probably shouldn't wait too much longer.
So while we got you on, Josh, I remember, I know Brian wanted to ask a few questions about land and opportunity zones, which I think are extremely interesting myself. But Brian, what was the specific question that you wanted to address?
Yeah. So on land, I like to take every now and then to drive out and look at different type of opportunities than the focus area that I'm in. So last weekend I drove down to an area called the Redlands and Homestead, which if you're not familiar with South Florida, it's basically farm country, within kind of a 45-minute to hour reach drive kind of down south and a little bit to the west.
Yeah, right for you down towards the Keys. Sorry, it's right for you enter right into getting to the Keys there.
Yeah, and I saw one property that was 20 acres for 1.8 million. I saw another property that was 10 acres for 6 million with like 11,000 square foot, Italian, Tuscan Italian villa on it. I mean, the place was amazing. Saw another property that was $675,000 for 7 acres, had 700 trees on it. And so, Justin, could you kind of broach the topic a little bit? And I don't know if we want to call it land or just call it like.
No, I mean, the reality is it's just a big piece of property. Mm-hmm. We're not going to treat that any different than we would, a standard block size house, 2 bedroom, 2 bath, 3 bedroom, 4 bedroom, whatever you want to call it. It's really the same thing for us from a lending standpoint.
What about when you add construction on top of that? Because I've had several service members asking me about the construction loan, those type of loan products that you can purchase a large piece of land and then build a house on it.
Okay, so
VA loan if you can speak on the VA loan construction loan, that would be ideal. But go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, like honestly, that is not something that is done well by very many people. All right. Yeah. Like if the reality is that if you got someone that does that, I want to work with that person because there's an opportunity. I think that's, I love that concept. Also too, what VA does not do well is condo. Okay. Yeah. VA condo is not easy. Like there are very few VA approved condos. You literally just Google VA approved condos, choose your area, choose a state. It's very, very simple search. Make sure that you're actually pulling it through the VA portal itself. Be careful with some of those other websites that feel like it's the VA, but it's not. There's a lot of things out there. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that the information isn't correct. Just make sure it is correct. Yeah. Accurate, right? So, but condo's not done well by VA. Construction is not something anyone in lending likes to do when it comes to a direct consumer type of loan, meaning are you going to use this for personal use? I really wish that this product was more prevalent. So any of our audience that's out there, if you know this stuff that's out there that maybe I'm not aware of, listen, I got a gazillion people, Brian, I'm sure you guys, Michael, have many people that you'd be able to introduce those individuals. But the construction loan is more difficult now, especially since this whole pandemic situation has occurred. We watched a lot of loan products disappear. Specifically, everything related to construction really, really, really tightened up quickly.
Yeah, they got rid of the VA renovation loans. For right now, they've put them on pause until I want to say April 2021. They're trying to figure out when they're going to bring those back. The reason is because you have to have a real estate professional on site to verify what's being built. You have to obviously have a crew there, and obviously those, that proximity that they want everybody to stay 6 feet away from each other. It's kind of rough to do that. So we're trying to keep people away from each other and not have large groups of people on one site. That's one of the reasons why they've halted that loan product or those loan products for right now.
Yeah, and back to on that, before I forget, I don't want to not answer Brian's question. When it comes to land in general is not a easy to find loan product. People want to see improved property when they're investing, meaning giving a loan in that property. So land loans are not common unless someone really has a niche and a specific approach to that lending. So same thing. I have people ask me about land loans all the time. Florida is a heck of a lot bigger than people can imagine. We have a lot of land available, and there's a lot of space for development. We have 900 people a day that moves to South Florida. Is that what it is?
Yeah,
900 people, and they move to Florida, 900 to Florida per day, 450 of which are coming to South Florida. So that means that there's a lot of the state that really is going to need to be developed.
That's kind of what I was getting at. Like I saw this one piece of land. I'm like, wow, 20 acres for 1.8 million. Like,
and if you're a vet, you could go into that. I mean, with us, a Cardinal at 10% down.
Right. I mean, and then you got 20 acres, and you could probably figure out a way to do a lot with that, you know?
Yeah. So you got to think like any other consumer is going to come up with 20 or 25%. So for that same amount of money that the other consumer would be using, you can actually use it as your development money. You know, you get you off the ground. For as far as, you know, for building a, you know, get your zoning set up, all that stuff. Is a huge opportunity.
Michael, you're smiling. Did you want to buy it?
Yeah, I'm thinking about it. That's why I was laughing. No, because I mean, looking for opportunities to it doesn't matter where it at. I don't care what market it is. Understanding that we can leverage certain skill sets like what you two have there. And I would feel very confident in, you know, working with you two to make a purchase. I'm not saying I'm doing it. Let's make clear. I'm on record now, right?
I'll call you back after this. All right.
But yeah, I mean, this is the type of the teams that you need on the ground that can help you identify opportunities like that, because you're exactly right, Brian. I mean, you get 20 acres in a rapidly developing area where you can then subdivide, and now all of a sudden you can charge a premium per lot if you wanted to. You can create a subdivision if you wanted to. There's so many different strategies, exit strategies, and ways to turn that small piece of blank slate into a masterpiece, right? We can act like Picasso when you have the right team around you on the ground. So that's an excellent point.
Another question I wanted to ask Justin is, can you talk about the different programs out there that have drive-by appraisals?
So about 60% of every one of our transactions that we're doing right now are getting appraisal waivers, actually.
Okay.
Not only is it a drive-by opportunity in so many cases, we're actually getting more waivers than we are seeing drive-bys. So we get more waivers, and then we ultimately end up only having to visit properties in certain instances where that loan to value is above 80%. If it is a purchase, for example, on a primary residence or second home. When it's a refinance, up to 70%, we're getting appraisal waivers on a cash out, 80 or 90% on a rate term refinance. So for those that don't want someone in their property, or also too, what if you started a project and you tore down a couple walls in your house? It's not really going to meet your appraisal. Your appraisal requirements aren't going to get met. You're going to have instead of an as is appraisal, meaning you're good to go, as is good to go, you're going to have subject to appraisal. You got to finish the bathroom, put your toilet back in, put the shower in. You got to do all this stuff before we can give you your loan. If you're in a situation like that and you really just want to drop your rate, it doesn't mean that you can't continue to proceed with an opportunity maybe for a refinance, because again, 70% of all of our refis are getting appraisal waiver. 60% of all of our purchases are getting a waiver as long as they have 20% down. That's a big number to not even have to have an appraiser step foot on a property right now. That's huge. So it really allows us to move quickly through a transaction.
I want to throw other thing out there, and I'm curious, you know, to the folks a little bit north of us. Have you guys ever heard of Curbio? No. Okay. So I work with Berkshire Halfway Home Services, and we have become a a Curbio affiliate or partner. There's other, real estate brokerages across the country working with Curbio as well. And I had to call Curbio today because I saw something that they put out that I thought there's no way this can be right because it's just too good of a deal. And they said, yeah, we're doing this. What Curbio will do, and where I'm kind of tying this into the conversation of, people talking about different strategies, that you buy one home, then you turn around a year later, you sell it, and you go get another home that's maybe now getting into 2, 3, or 4 units or something like that. With Curbio, you can go out and, in theory, you could get a place that needed to be heavily renovated. Okay. You could buy that property. And then if you're trying to figure out how to pay for the renovation, Curbio will pay for and do the renovation. And Curbio will get paid when you close and sell that property.
Wow. Is that a national
That's
service?
That's a national product. And it's kind of set up like a, think about like a lot of these tech companies, like Uber, everything's done through an app and a phone and somebody in a call center somewhere. What Curbio has done is they have brought project managers and construction superintendents, construction people on their staff, and they pay them as hourly employees. Mm. So now those people that were worried about where's my next job coming from know that they've got a steady, flow of work coming to them. Okay. In exchange for it, Curbio is getting really good pricing on the labor. Okay. They're also buying the material in mass. And, I don't know what's like in other parts of the country, but I know in Miami, the golden rule is you make your walls white, you make your tile white, you make everything white, and now all of a sudden it's worth $20,000 more. Okay. So
Sure.
everybody in Miami wants to work with the high ceilings, that's the style that they want in their homes. So what Curbio's done is they have on staff, people that know for your neighborhood, where your area is, what look you need to get it to sold. It's highly focused on millennial buyers and knowing what their tastes are. So what Curbio basically has rolled out is the ability to renovate a property. Okay. They're going to pay for the renovation. When you go to sell it.
So do you have to list the property?
You got to list the property.
So they got to come to you, list the property, but you're going to basically invest in it, right? Meaning through Curbio.
So basically Curbio is going to spend the money.
Right. So they're going to do your flip for you, basically. If you want to buy a house and then literally flip it, all right, I'm just going to get Curbio, and they're literally going to take care of everything.
Now and the skin in the game is the seller is contractually obligated to sell it.
Yeah. I mean, that works. That seems like that's perfect for a flipper, right?
Yeah, especially if you have the cash skin, because right now everybody knows those fix and flip loan products have become quite tight. There's not as much of it out there. They want to see more skin in the game. That's for an investor that's out there, some opportunity in this. This is cool.
Now the part of it, I haven't even gotten to the part that I thought was questionable.
The butt, here it comes.
The part of it that threw me off, and I was like, there's no way this can be true. And they called me and they said it is they are taking the risk now. So if you go to close, okay, and you're coming out on the bad end of the equation, they're going to take the hit.
Like, meaning you can't, like, who sets the market price for that situation?
It would have to be the agent. It would have to be.
So what happens is they bring the realtor and they say, hey, if we're sitting at this point on the property as is, let's say it's $300,000, and you as a realtor say, well, there's comps out there supporting that if you do this, this, and this, you can sell it for $400,000.
Okay.
You list it for, let's say, $390, so that you're 10 grand below the market. You can sell quickly and get it sold, because ultimately they want to sell the property they don't want to sit on the market too long. Now, the other part of it that goes into it is contractually, Curbio lowers your sale price over a period of time that they agree to with the seller. So it might be 30 days, it might be 60 days, it might be $10,000 every 30 days, or it may be a percentage. But if by going through that, and Curbio is going to analyze these deals and make sure that they've got a pretty good level of comfort that they're not going to come out on the short end of the stick. But if they commit to it, and at the end of the day, Curbio can't cover what they paid to do your renovation, they're the loser and you're the winner. And that's the part that blew me away. So, I mean, like anything that's out there, I'd encourage people to do your due diligence on it, but I was shocked when I saw them put this in a marketing material, and then I called them. And, they're a startup company. So, I mean, what do we know about Uber? Like, here's a company that literally, when
disruptor.
Yep, it's a
when
disruptor.
you look at Uber, you go, well, where are the cash flows? Where's the valuation of this company? I mean, you look at Facebook,
Yeah.
Facebook, and you go, how the heck is Facebook $1 billion company when, for a long time they had no cash flows?
Yeah, I'm digging into it right now. It's Curbio.com. I got it pulled up here, but
Yeah, I'm
definitely
the same. I'm interested. This is cool.
Yeah, I'm interested.
I like that. That's good stuff.
Listeners, you definitely want to look into anything that can, because just like Justin alluded to earlier, there are fix and flip loan products out there. Absolutely, we use them all the time. But they got a little bit tighter. The requirements change. You typically have higher origination points, higher interest. They're typically short-term, so forth and so on. So the more opportunities or the more products you can find where you can leverage all that out, I mean, that's great stuff. So I'll be digging into it, and I might even drop a little video on it if I can get some more insight.
Yeah, I can help you with some of the marketing. I'm a Curbio certified realtor, which doesn't mean a whole lot, but it does mean that I went through a training class that they had.
Perfect.
But I'm just kind of thinking the scenario where you were kind of building the step-by-step process of you buy a property, you get it sold, then you come to a mortgage guy or gal and get a bigger place. That might be a way to kind of accelerate through that a little bit.
Absolutely. We love all those acceleration ideas.
Yeah, man. So just to start wrapping it up really quick, if you guys had, we'll start with Brian, but this question goes to both of you. If you had one piece of advice that you can give to a service member or a first-time investor, what would that be? Something that can help them out in their journey. What would that be?
Be patient. Wait for the deal. Don't be impatient, because there are deals out there and a lot of them are bad. So make sure you find the one that's good, and I'm going to steal a little bit of Justin's thunder, but realize that the person on the finance side of the equation, they got to understand your income, your equity, and your credit, and make sure you got all three of those working in your favor, because it only takes one leg of the stool for you to fall on the floor.
Yeah, I mean, listen, come to the Justin Bush and Brian Therapy Hour. I mean, honestly, that's what we do. I mean, we really take such an approach. That's why we continue to work together. Listen, you guys know this as much as anyone. Not all professionals are created equal. You have probably worked with people even in the service member side of things where you're just not sure that these guys are the right guys or the right fit, to be on your team. Make sure you choose your team wisely. You have a choice. Reach out, get your consultation. Make sure that you really feel comfortable, that you're getting the education, that people are investing their time in helping you really, really understand what your goals are. And also to understand that your goals may be a moving target. You might not even know what those goals are. Work with someone who's capable and willing to spend enough time with you to really make sure that they're giving you enough information where you get to really own your future. Set yourself up for success. That is my recommendation. Be patient. Brian said it best. Be patient. You don't have to pull the trigger on anything. No one's here. No one's putting a gun in your head. Not in this case. So, this is, you set yourself up for success. You have a choice. And I recommend just reach out to the right professionals, whether, we're a 50-state lender. I can do it throughout the country. And realtors out there, if you have a guy that's in your market, but you want to invest somewhere else, make sure that realtor is working with that person so that everyone is on the same page. I'm sure Brian will take referrals and work with other realtors all day long from other markets. And I think that that's one of the other things to all our realtors out there. Make sure you pick out the right realtor in each market that you want to be referring your clients into, because otherwise you leave money on the table one way or the other.
Which is a great segue to let everybody know out there that obviously for the military cash flow community, if you guys are in the market to purchase in your area and you want a vetted and proven realtor, please let us know. We have a vast network of referral agents. It's completely free service for you, but we have vetted them thoroughly so they understand the investing strategies, they have their specific niches, and so forth and so on.
Yes, and also if you're watching this on YouTube, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. Make sure you leave a comment below. I know Justin and Brian will probably be in there as well, and they can answer some of your questions that you may have, or you can just reach out to them, obviously. If you're listening to us on podcast, please leave us a 5-star review. Justin and Brian's notes will be down below. You can just click that. And then lastly, we do have the Military Cash Flow Facebook group. We're pushing 1,000 members right now, and we're all service members helping each other build and grow through real estate. So definitely go join the group. Other than that, Brian and Justin, thank you so much for coming on. Really, really appreciate it. You guys dropped a lot of knowledge. You're going to help so many people with this podcast. So really, really appreciate that.
Hey man, you guys rock. I really appreciate you guys putting together. I'm quite impressed with all you guys do. And let's connect, stay connected, and we'll help drive this information as much as we can from our end as well. I mean, this is good stuff. I love it. Well done.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much. Really appreciate being a part of this.
Absolutely.
Definitely. And with that, this is Dan Wynn.
Mike Glassby.
Signing off.